Hi guys, I hope that you're in the mood for a bit of a scarier read today, because we're going to be talking about 172 Hours on the Moon by Johann Harstad. This is my first real attempt at contemporary sci-fi, or even horror for that matter, in a very long time. And part of what makes the story so successfully scary is that it's very much grounded in reality and reads like an alternate history. It's set in 2018, and just like in real life, NASA has been closed for a very long time. Only we learn that it's not because of lack of public interest or funding, but because they are keeping a potentially dangerous secret. And NASA decides that they're going to test the safety of going back to the moon and the validity of reports of famous astronauts like Buzz Aldrin who all swear they saw something strange up there. So, naturally, NASA decides to hold a worldwide raffle and send up 3 lucky teenagers. So, whoever our special winners are going to get to spend an entire week, 172 hours, up on the moon in what used to be a super secret moon base with a specialized team of astronauts. And our winners are Mia from Norway, Antoine from France, and Midori from Japan. Mia only really went to appease her parents and get some very much needed publicity for her punk band. Antoine is essentially going to mope about his ex-girlfriend and just wallow in self-pity. And Midori wants to escape her traditional life in Japan. While we got narrations from all of them, I never really felt like we truly got to know them, and it made me not care about them as much. They were all just sort of blah. I couldn't identify with any of them, and all of their personalities just sort of turned me off. They were believable characters, but I didn't particularly care if any of them survived. And I found myself caring for the side characters way more, but maybe that's just something that was lost in translation, but that's another thing. See, I knew going in that this was originally written in Norwegian, and I've got to say, I wouldn't have been able to tell if I hadn't known already going in. The writing was polished and solid, and I really enjoyed Johann Harstad's writing style. It was very immersive, and another thing about that is that we get like these photos and schematics as we go about, and it added to the experience beautifully. However, the first 100 pages or so were all pretty dull, and we spent maybe half the book actually in space where all the action was. But once the plot got going, wow, did it get going. Overall, I had quite a few issues with the pacing, characterization, plot holes, and certain inconsistencies that I'll be getting to in just a second, but in the meantime, I'll be giving 172 Hours on the Moon by Johann Harstad 3 out of 5 stars. And now for the spoiler section. They all died. I thought about it, but I didn't think that they would actually do it. I had a feeling that that's what was going to happen, but I didn't think Harstad would really do it. As soon as Mia popped out of the pod and she was acting way too calm, though, I knew it wasn't going to actually be her. What bothers me, though, is that I can't figure out when she switched places with her doppelganger. We know that she got stranded on the moon and died there from reading the last page, but that's where I'm getting a little tripped up. See, we were in her narration the entire time in Darla 1, and as soon as she hit the launch button on her escape pod, it said that her doppelganger was screaming and banging on the glass outside of the pod. So I don't know when they switched places. Mia's doppelganger infecting her during their final struggle for the escape pod, that would have made sense, but them switching places, I've gone back and reread that scene a couple of times now, and it just doesn't add up. There's no point when they could have possibly switched places based on that narration, and it was exciting and freaked the bejesus out of me, but it made zero sense. I thought the pacing was strange too. I wish that we'd gotten a lot less exposition and at least 100 more pages up on the Darla 2. Like, maybe the book opens up with Mia, Antoine, and Midori all up in the shuttle about to take off, and then they briefly flash back to how they all got there. Short and sweet. And if they had done that, it would have completely cut out that drop plot point where they all got those mysterious numerical messages that only they were aware of. I wish that we got some kind of follow through on that, because the story made such a huge deal out of it, and we never got any semblance of an explanation, and that was so frustrating. And whatever happened to Sanders' letter? Again, the story made kind of a big deal about Mia being able to get Sander to sit down and write her a letter while she's up in space, and her not being able to find it during the shuttle launch. But then that never gets talked about again. So I was thinking, what if she found it while she was being hunted or something, and it was all bittersweet, and he was saying something like, "I love you, big sis, I know you can do it, I'm so proud of you, I'll see you when you get home," and then maybe that keeps her going during this whole struggle. But no, it's something that was kind of dropped to tug at our heartstrings, but then it had zero follow through. I wish we could have drawn out the battle with the doppelganger more too. I kept thinking back to movies like Alien that made such great use of their environment and how it really could have gone either way in the fight. But in this case, all the characters more or less stayed sequestered in the living room, freaking out, or going outside and dying pretty much immediately. And the doppelgangers were so overpowered that I didn't have almost any hope that anyone was going to get out of this alive. Early on, we're given a schematic of Darla 2, like right when they first land. And it's a pretty big moon base with a lot of different rooms and chambers. And I'm thinking, okay, so maybe we're going to be in kind of a game of cat and mouse. And they're going to actually stand a chance and we'll get to do some exploring. But no, it was just kind of there. They barely did any kind of exploring, and the setting itself seemed almost irrelevant. Like the base was depowered way too quickly and not used to its full potential. I mean, there was an entire detailed description about how the infirmary was fully equipped to dissect and fight these aliens, but it was never used, and that was a big missed opportunity. It would have been nice to show the team had some viable way of fighting back instead of just being sitting ducks. Was there even more than one doppelganger? That was never clear. I thought that there was just one that was changing between Antoine and Mia the whole time, but then we had the whole huge twist, and that was a genuine twist that freaked me out. That Midori had been replaced right after Caitlin died and was a doppelganger, like, for half of the time up in the moon base. So, either Midori got replaced by a different doppelganger while Mia and her doppelganger were confronting each other in the hallway, or Mia's doppelganger beat her back to the living room and replaced Midori herself, and there was just the one of them. Okay, see, it's stuff like that that drives me nuts, and I know that it sounds like I'm ripping this book apart, but I really did enjoy it. The atmosphere was scary and intense, the characters were all believable if underdeveloped, and it kept me interested for the majority of the time. But if you're gonna write a book, please either watch out for these gaping plot holes or at least polish the story enough that we can potentially fill in the blanks ourselves in a satisfying way. Before I go, one more thing. I'm using this book to fulfill two of my reading challenges, a book with a number in the title and a book originally written in a different language. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you all next time. Bye!